Ready? So, determine how much is in a retirement account after 20 years if $5,000 was invested at 6.05% interest compounded weekly. So let's talk about what all the letters mean in this formula. The first thing you need to know about this formula is it only calculates $5,000 and you put nothing else in. This is if at the beginning you put $5,000 in and you let it sit, okay? This is what happens. A is how much is in the account after the 20 years. That's what A means. P is how much you put in the principal, how much you put in at the initial start. R is the rate. What is the rate of interest that you're earning? N is how many times it's compounded. And T is how many years. So there's different types of compounding. So you could compound it daily. You can compound it monthly, compound it weekly, compound it quarterly. It just changes. So we're going to start with A because it says determine how much is in the account. So A is how much is in the account. P, so how much are we putting into this account on day one? $5,000. So that's how much we're putting in. Times, that 1 is always there. It's just a basic 1, okay? Plus, now R is our rate. Well, we're not going to put in 6.05. We actually have to convert that to a decimal. This is what we call a decimal percent. We need to put it into a decimal. In order to do that, you can either divide by 100 or move the decimal 2 places to the left. And our rate would be 0.0605. Yes, our rate is 6.05%, but we're writing it as a decimal. N is how often we're going to compound it. So what does it say? It's compounded weekly. So that's how many times in a year. So how many weeks are in a year? 52. So we're going to put 52 there. And then it's going to be 52 because that's what N is. So right here it's N times T. N is how many times it's compounded. And how many years are we going to let this money sit for? And then we're going to put 20 right there. So on your test, on your quiz, one of the things is going to label what is P, what is R, what is N, what is T. Then some other points would be put the numbers in the formula. And yes, I will give you the formula. I'm not going to make you memorize this formula. Okay? Before we put it in our calculator, let's actually just rewrite it one more time. But this time, let's multiply the exponents. So let's multiply 52 times 20. And I believe 52 times 20 is 1,040. Now let's put this into your calculator. So when you put it into your calculator, you guys, just put what's inside the parentheses first, and then we're going to raise it to the exponent. So let's see. I think you can do it that way. This is Flurry. Now, if you guys can't, can you do that in your calculator? Could you put parentheses? Okay, now hit enter and then multiply it by 5,000. Let me know if that's what you get or not. Okay, so this comes out to be because it's asking you for money, and we should probably, because we're asking you for money, it's going to be $16,755.63. So after 20 years, we put $5,000 in and we just let it sit for 20 years. This is how much money we would have at the end of 20 years. Now, you guys, in reality, we probably would keep adding to that account. But if you let it just sit, this is what would happen. Okay? What questions do you have?
Where does N come from?
N is how many times it's compounded. So right here it said compounded weekly. And because it's compounded weekly, that's why we put 52 there. If it said compounded monthly, we would put 12. A lot of times you'll see compounded monthly. That's one that you would see. Compounded quarterly, that would be 4 because there's 4 quarters in a year. So it's how many times it happens a year. Sometimes it's only compounded once. You put 1 there. Okay. Any other questions? So let's just go over just one more time. Okay, what does A mean? Basically, how much money do you have in your account? What is P? It's your principal, it's your starting amount. What is your R? The rate, the interest rate. What is the N? How many times it's compounded in a year? And what does T mean? Time in what? Years. It's how many years are you going to let that money sit? Okay. Any other questions? R is rate. N is how many times it's compounded. Any other questions?